Hello, how is it going, my friends? I'm here to talk to you once again, super surprise, about MicroStrategy stock, MSTR. So yeah, before I get into the video, right, I gotta tell you, subscribe to the channel if you like MSTR, if you like crypto, if you like AI, if you like robotics, or really any long-term asymmetric bets with your money. Let me know by subscribing to the channel. I make daily videos on this stuff. You don't want to miss it out, right? You don't want to miss out on this stuff because who knows, it could make you some money, right? I'm not a financial advisor, but you could make some money off this channel for what you learn on here. So, also, by the way, let me know in the comment section exactly how many shares you got on MSTR, whether you got options, shares, whatever, what your price, and what your price target is on MSTR for the next year, okay? All right, now into the video. Okay, recent price targets on MSTR are quite enticing, right? They are quite high, let's put it that way. You've got some price targets from people, from institutions that are like some stupid like 40, 50 bucks, where it's like the only possible way that MSTR is going that low is if, Bitcoin goes to like 25K or 20K or some crazy number that we're never gonna see on Bitcoin ever again, if you ask me. So yeah, but the majority of the price targets from the respectable institutions, I believe, I respect anyway, right? they're in the 600s. We're being really like high 500, 600, 700s, and that basically suggests that Bitcoin is going to go to around 200K in the next year, 200, 250K within the next year, right? So if that happens, well, like I said, if Bitcoin gets that high, we're going to see a lot of appreciation in MicroStrategy stock, especially seeing as it's a leveraged play on Bitcoin, right? So, like, we're going to see Bitcoin go up however much, and you're going to see MSTR go up a lot more than whatever Bitcoin does. Let's just put it that way. If you look at the historical, the historical rate of return for MicroStrategy compared to Bitcoin, it's a lot higher than Bitcoin, right? It's like actually since the Bitcoin era, I think it's about double, right? So yeah, it's quite a world we live in when MicroStrategy's issued a B- credit rating, when the Trump administration is so, I mean, it's more pro crypto, more pro Bitcoin than I think any of us could have ever imagined, right? I mean, the amount of times I've seen or heard Donald Trump say, we are going to make the United States the crypto capital of the world, right? And then the various different ways that he can actually accomplish this with, congressional support, right? Where it's like, it kind of is like the first mover and Bitcoin is going to win, right? When it comes to like governmental supply and demand, right? So you got El Salvador already made Bitcoin their national currency, right? You got who knows how many countries in the world right now, as I'm making this video, printing their own currency, which they can print out of thin air and buying the hardest asset in the world, Bitcoin, right? Then you've got all these crypto treasury companies. It's just like, at this point, it's so funny to see like Bitcoin sentiment so low, but the price still so high. It's like, we know that when sentiment is the lowest, but that's when basically you've hit the bottom, right? That's when all these people have already sold out of their positions. The leverage isn't in the Bitcoin, isn't in the asset, So historically, like I said, when sentiment's the lowest, when people are the most bearish, that's when, the asset's actually bottomed, right? And it's amazing. It's just it's mind-boggling to me every single day when I see Eric Trump posting on X saying, hey, buy the dip. When I hear Donald Trump saying this, when I hear Michael Saylor saying this, Metaplanet in Japan saying this, and like all of the legislation surrounding Bitcoin, right? So yeah, guys, it's quite a world we live in. It's quite something else, Get over real fast. Let's see. Yeah, MicroStrategy, MSTR. Something else that's very interesting about MSTR is like just how much they're gonna steal from the bond market, you know? It's like, personally, I'm 31, and I'll tell you guys, I own $0 in bonds. And I have no intention of going to buy any bonds anytime soon. I just don't see the purpose. I don't see the, you know, the advantage. I see that they're less risky, right, than stocks or crypto or whatever, but it's like, yeah, it's less risky, but look at the possible reward. It's like almost nothing. I have an emergency fund, right? I've got, you know, enough to cover 6 months, a year. I don't even know how much. I've got a decent chunk of change in my SoFi savings account. There's a shameless plug to SoFi there. But SoFi gives you like, I think it's like 4% APY for a savings account. If you have SoFi Plus, and if you have all you need for SoFi Plus is a direct deposit, right? So, yeah, I mean, but that's like, you know, in case I lose my job, in case my wife loses her job, in case of, you know, natural disaster, or like something happens to our house or whatever, right? But you're not going to see me put, you know, all this money into a bond, right? So, but at the same time, there's like $330 trillion in bonds right now. It's like the bond market is absolutely freaking massive and just ripe for the taking, you know? It's like bonds are so outdated. Like, I'm 31, I've never owned a bond in my life, right? But I've owned plenty of stocks. I have a savings account where I keep money in, but you don't see me out going out and buying CDs. I'm not gonna buy a bond. I'm just not gonna do it, right? I've got better things to do. Like, for me to just sit on, like, for instance, if I took all of my money and took it out of the stock market, out of crypto, all of my money that I have invested in short-term investments, right, put it all into bonds, what am I going to do, make 5 or 6% a year for the next 10 years? I'm not going to get wealthy by doing that. I'm going to, you know, I'm going to generate wealth slowly. Let's just say that I'm going to be working a really long time. I'm going to have very little risk. I mean, it's essentially no risk other than inflation. Inflation is a risk, right? If you own a bond at a fixed APY and inflation's higher than that, then you could actually lose money, right? And it also depends on how much you trust the Fed with, like, the CPI numbers they give, right? So essentially, you could be buying a bond right now and losing purchasing power with your dollars just because you're not outperforming the market, right? You're not even outperforming inflation, right? It's a potential. So just thinking about all these things, to take from the bond market to buy an asset like Bitcoin that historically has went up 99% a year. Since inception, that's what it's went up, right? So I'm not even arguing that you have to make 99% a year, or that Bitcoin's going to go up 99% a year. I don't think it's going to. I don't see Bitcoin going up 99% a year compounded, right? And obviously it's not every single year that it goes up 99%. It's like, you know, you have a drawdown, then you have a draw, you know, come up and whatever. There's been cycles to it, but if you look at the price since inception to now, it's a compound annual growth rate of 99% a year, right? So it's just like that bond market is just so outdated, and it's amazing that it took until 2020 for someone to figure that out. It's Michael Saylor, and because he figured that out, you know, he's gonna have, in my personal humble opinion, he's going to have one of the most valuable companies in the world by far. Like, it's not even close. And he doesn't even have to go make GPUs. He doesn't have to make electric cars. He doesn't have to make cell phones. He doesn't have to make computers. He doesn't have to make laptops. He doesn't have to make cars. He doesn't have to make anything. He doesn't have a product. He doesn't even really have a service. He just, I mean, his product is, hey, buy my, buy my stock, or like buy this other stock that'll give you a dividend and we'll get rich together. That's his product. It's wild. Anyway, guys, I gotta let you go. So thanks for watching. If you made it this far, definitely subscribe to the channel. What are you doing? And like I said, let me know down below how many MSTR shares you got. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.